Come walk with me into the North Woods of Minnesota, to a lake that once beat every other park in America. Over the next few miles, we will follow a quiet forest trail through pine and birch, watch the water flicker between the trees, and uncover the deep history of Bear Head Lake near the little town of Ely. First, where are we? This is Bear Head Lake State Park, tucked into St. Louis County in far northeastern Minnesota, about 19 miles southwest of Ely. We are deep in the Border Lakes country, on the edge of the Superior National Forest, and only a short paddle from the great wilderness that begins just to the north. The forest closes in around the trail almost at once. This is the true North Woods, a boreal blanket of red and white pine, spruce, balsam fir, aspen and paper birch that rolls unbroken for hundreds of miles. Superior National Forest lies within 3 miles of where we stand, and its silence is a living thing. In 2010, this quiet park did something remarkable. Coca-Cola and the National Park Foundation ran a nationwide online poll to crown America's favorite park, and Little Bear Head Lake won it, gathering more than 1.6 million votes and a $100,000 grant, beating famous giants across the whole country. How did such a small park win? The answer was 2 black bears named Lily and Hope, watched by millions on a live den camera run by the researcher Lynn Rogers. Their fans flooded the internet with votes, and this northern lake, home to those very bears, was carried to a national title on a wave of pure affection. And here it is. Through a gap in the pines, the lake opens on our left, still and dark and framed by spruce. Bear Head Lake covers about 670 acres and drops some 46 feet at its deepest, a clean glacial basin that gives the whole park its name and its heart. Every lake here is a gift of the ice. Between roughly 12 and 10,000 years ago, the last great glaciers ground south across this land, gouging out basins and leaving behind a stony blanket of till. When the ice finally melted, water filled the hollows and Bear Head Lake was born. But the ice only shaped what was already ancient. The bedrock beneath these trees includes the Ely greenstone and the hard giants range granite, some of the oldest rock exposed anywhere on the planet, formed billions of years ago when this country was the floor of a vanished volcanic sea. The path narrows and rises gently underfoot. Roots lace the trail like veins, and a soft carpet of fallen needles muffles every step. This is the Club Trail, one of a web of quiet footpaths that thread the park, climbing over low ridges and dipping toward the shoreline where the water waits between the trunks. Look closely and the forest tells its own story. Towering red and white pines are the old aristocracy here, survivors of fire and time. Around them crowd younger aspen and paper birch, their leaves shivering gold in the autumn light, forever racing to fill any gap the pines leave open. We are here in early October, and the woods are on fire with color. Birch and aspen blaze yellow against the deep evergreen, and the low sun sets the whole canopy glowing. In a few weeks the leaves will fall, the lake will still, and the long white silence of a northern winter will begin. No sound belongs to these waters like the call of the common loon. This striking black and white diver haunts the northern lakes all summer, its wild, wavering cry echoing across the water at dusk. It is the voice of the wilderness itself and the state bird of Minnesota. The trail bends and the lake reappears, wider now, its surface pewter under cloudy sky. A cool breeze slides off the water, carrying the smell of pine and cold stone. Somewhere out there, beneath that calm mirror, the basin falls away into dark and deeply cold water, older than any of us can imagine. This is, and has always been, Anishinaabe land, the homeland of the Ojibwe people. For countless generations, they have moved through this country of lakes and forest by birch bark canoe, gathering wild rice in the shallow bays, fishing these waters, and reading a landscape they know as home. We walk here only as guests. The trail climbs a low rise and the canopy knits shut overhead. Light falls in soft green columns through the pines, and the only sounds are our own footsteps and the distant knock of a woodpecker. It is easy, in a place like this, to feel how small and how recent we really are. Yet these woods were not always so quiet. Around 1895, the loggers arrived, drawn by that priceless white pine. Crews felled the giants through the long winters and floated the logs out across the lakes, and for a few decades, this shore rang with axes, saws, and the shouts of a booming timber frontier. From 1907 to 1911, the Tower Lumber Company ran a sawmill on the south shore of this very lake, fed by logging railroads whose grades you can still trace through the trees. When the big pine was gone, the mills fell silent, and slash fires swept the cut of a land, leaving charred stumps that survive to this day. And then the forest did what forests do. Out of the ash and the ruined ground came aspen and birch first, then the slow, patient pines, stitching the wounded land back together. What you see around you now is a full century of quiet recovery, a North Woods reborn from its own hard history. In 1961, Minnesota set this recovering land aside forever as Bear Head Lake State Park. Roads became trails, the campground filled with tents instead of timber crews, and a place once measured in board feet became something far more valuable, a refuge of water, forest, and wild quiet for anyone who cares to walk it. And this is only the doorstep. Just 20 miles to the north lies the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness, more than 1 million acres of interlocking lakes and forest where no motors run and a canoe is the only way through. Bear Head Lake sits on the very edge of that legendary country. We share these trails with formidable company. This is home to black bears and beaver, to moose browsing the wetlands, and to one of the last strongholds of the timber wolf in the lower 48 states. Bald eagles and ospreys ride the wind above the lake, hunting the same fish the Ojibwe always have. Beyond Bear Head, the park cradles a scatter of smaller lakes, Becky, Blueberry, Cub and Norberg among them, each ringed by its own quiet forest. Portage trails and paddle routes link many of them, so that a hiker here can become a canoeist within the hour, slipping ever deeper into a country made almost entirely of water. For a while we just walk, and the park asks nothing of us. No traffic, no signal, no hurry, only the lap of water on stone, the sigh of wind in the high pines, and the cool, clean air of the north. This is the particular medicine that people will drive hundreds of miles to find. Standing here, that old contest makes perfect sense. Bear Head Lake did not win because it was the grandest or the most famous. It won because it is honest, unspoiled, and deeply loved by the people who know it. A small northern jewel that a whole nation, for one strange season, decided to celebrate. The trail curves back toward the water one final time. The light is going gold and low, the lake gone glass calm, and a single loon calls somewhere far out across the bay. Moments like this do not photograph. They can only be walked into and then carried home in the memory. This is the essence of Bear Head Lake, a place where billion-year-old rock, glacial water, ancient forest, and human history all fold into a single quiet afternoon. It asks only that you slow down, look closely, and listen. Do that, and the North Woods will tell you everything you came to hear. Thank you for walking this trail with me all the way to America's favorite park. If you enjoyed this journey through the North Woods of Minnesota, subscribe and come along for the next one. There is a whole world of trails out there still waiting, and we are only just getting started. See you on the next trail.